normally it takes us a couple of weeks, usually 2 weeks to break a lost episode, and that one took us 5 weeks. And in fact, the strike kind of came along at just the right time, because we had sort of we'd exhausted all of our lead time and sort of depleted all of our resources breaking that story, and so we were writing right behind production. We were completely sort of zapped, and that it was a good time to go on strike.
We found that was an episode that was almost impossible to explain to somebody. We remember having conversations basically saying, give us more time, but Desmond's consciousness from the present on the way to the freighter gets misplaced so that he's back in the early 90s when he's still in the military, but he's completely confused as to where he is or when he is. But in the end, he's going to make out with Penny. And and people were just like, I don't understand. What do you mean his consciousness? We're like, you just have to let us show you, but sort of on a beat-by-beat basis. And then, giving all the exposition to Faraday, whose voice we were still finding, and Jeremy had only been on the show for really 4 episodes at that point. Kind of when do you explain to an audience what the rules of time travel are, and when do you just let them figure it out for themselves?
We worked really hard to try to find a balance so there was an emotional payoff to the story, that it wasn't, that we didn't just basically spend the entire episode trying to explain our concept of consciousness traveling, and that it built to something that was emotional and genuine and that kind of transcended the mythology of the episode.
And the show, whether they had to leave for specific, other reasons that you would just like to see come back.
Misha Barton.
We would like to get Misha Barton on Lost. Mr. Echo was the character we really loved. What happens, however, though, when you make a television show, you don't make it in a vacuum, and we shoot our show entirely on Hawaii, which does not seem like much of a hardship. And most actors go down there and they fall in love with it, and actually a number of people who work on our show, including some of the actors, plan to stay there after the show is done. But Adewale was from London, and Hawaii was just not his bag. He did not want to be there, and he got island fever, and he didn't want us to stay on the island. So real life intervened and kind of forced us to end the arc of that character much sooner than we would like to have done.
What about Shannon?
Once in a while, I wonder how often you plan in advance and how many of the plot points are spur the moment. For example, like the kill switch that Desmond ultimately used.
That question has come to us in many forms, and I'm sure it's created, an amazing debate amongst Lost fans. People who basically say we're making it up as we go along and everything is completely organic, and the people who say no, of course they have a plan. And to tell you the truth, up until the end of the 3rd season, it was a little bit of both, because we didn't know if we'd ever be able to end the show. But now we have 34 hours left for you guys to see. Seasons 5 and season 6. So if we did not have a very specific plan that we were working towards at that point, we would crash and burn. We owe answers. We know the answers that we owe. The questions have to begin to diminish. So before, we were operating in a space where the more planning we did, the more catastrophically bad things could end up, because we didn't know how long we had to do it for.
Yeah, it was going to be 3 seasons or 9 seasons, and so we know where we're going, and we know how long we have left to tell our story. But we still, come into the writers' room every episode and break a story, and there's an organic kind of process of discovery that goes along. So, the metaphor for us is it's like you're taking a road trip, and we're going to end up in New York, but every day we get up, we decide whether we're going to take the rural back road or the interstate, knowing that we're going to stop in certain cities along the way. But the path to those cities is part of the process of discovery that when you break a story, you find.
Like case in point, at the end of season 2, we knew that the hatch was going to end up blowing up at the end of the year, and that Desmond was going to be the one who blew up the hatch. But the specifics behind the kill switch itself, where it was located, the fact that Kelvin told him about it, and all that stuff was a more organic process. Because, as these guys will all tell you, we write a script every 8 days. That's not a lot of time. So you can have grand plans about all the things that you want to do, but the beast needs to be fed above all other things. So you can't spend too much time thinking about the groceries you're going to buy next week. You have to figure out what you're going to eat for dinner.
Used, or people might get tired of time travel popping up everywhere.
We'll tell you yesterday.
told you tomorrow.
Seriously, Carol, we think. We hope that we are putting our own spin on time travel, and as Damon mentioned earlier, for us, the key to time travel and loss is that there is no paradox. So we aren't postulating alternate futures. We're not postulating a scenario where our characters can alter their future. If you've seen a flash forward, that event is immutable. It's not changeable. So, as we sort of use that as a guiding criteria, that we hope is going to define time travel on our show in a way that's, that isn't in, an exact copy of other movies that you've seen. Nevertheless, as Josh was talking about going down the rabbit hole and spending 6 hours talking about time travel, I was in my mind going 6 hours. Nothing.
I just want to say, very briefly, that the greatest thing that could ever be uttered in the halls of the networks is we have too many shows about time travel. It's like, we have 14 cop shows and 19 hospital shows and 35 legal shows, but the time travel show is just too many. So if we could somehow get them to critical mass so people started complaining about it, I think that would be a huge achievement for everyone in this room.